Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. How are you? Happy 2021.
I know, right? It's crazy that it's here.
It is crazy, and I'm hanging on to it with all it's got because I'm afraid it's going to fly by. But
I forgot to tell you this. I had the funniest, let me see if I can find it really fast. I shared the funniest thing on our regional leadership Zoom today that just made me laugh so hard because we're recording this early before people will listen. But it said, since this is kind of technically the first work day back, it said, made a New Year's resolution. It's one of these memes with this guy with funny eyes. It said, made a New Year's resolution to stop swearing. And then I came back to work today.
That's so funny. So true.
I know. I thought, oh my gosh, we're back. We're back in full force.
I saw a cute one about eating, but I can't have you. How many of you have already talked about eating healthy and then did something? I can't remember what it was, but I thought of you because aren't you doing some kind of like fast or something?
Yes, I'm going to have to tell you about
it. Okay, that's good. Well, let's dig into it. We're going to talk about our 2021 goals. Our last session, we talked about kind of what we learned from our 2020 goals and what we accomplished and what we didn't accomplish. So let's talk about what do you got for 2021? What are you excited about? What do you?
Yeah, well, I have a whole list. And this year I got a new planner this year I'm testing out. And it pains me because I'm so used to my one thing planner, but I've got it's called the Christian planner. And it has all of the things that we love about the one thing planner, honestly, but it also has room for your daily spiritual walk too. And it's got the 30-day at a glance, and it's got a bunch of stuff, and it has a habit tracker at the bottom of your monthly page, like all kinds of great stuff. So I told you, I think I shared this before, but I had them overnighted to Florida so Adam and I could get situated for 2021. And so my word of the year, I actually have two, but my first one is habits and my second one is manifest. And it was funny because I actually said, when Adam and I were going through this, I said, my word of the year is going to be discipline. And he said, well, you know what Gary Keller says, don't you? And I said, what? And he said, there's no such thing as a disciplined person. They either have great habits or they don't. And he said, so I think leave it to Adam. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll change my word to habits. So my word of the year is habits. And then I chose manifest as kind of a second one because and I used to think this was kind of out there, but now I think if you do it in a different way, it's not. But I studied a lot of Gabrielle Bernstein last year in her book, Super Attractor. I did a book club on it. And she does these manifestation. It's kind of like a meditation. You remember when we interviewed David Osborne and he's like, how many minutes can you sit before your brain starts to think about something else when you're supposed to be meditating? And,
yes.
And he said he was talking about guided meditations. And so I started kind of studying that. And anyway, Gabrielle Bernstein has these great, there's 6 minutes and you listen to it in the morning. And so she guides you through a manifestation meditation to where you're really manifesting the things in your life. And it was funny, I shared that on my Instagram and an agent that I know in Lexington responded and said, oh my gosh, I did that 21-day manifestation challenge at the beginning of 2020. And she said, I know you're going to think this is nuts, but my business tripled. Everything that I've spoken out into existence and I've really, meditated on and thought about has come to fruition this year, like even during the pandemic. And so anyway, that was kind of why I chose my second word, which was manifestation. And I'm doing her 21-day manifestation challenge right now that started on January 1st to kind of go along with it. But yeah, so those are my words of the year. And you shared yours, but what was shared again?
Well, mine is collaboration, because I looked at my goals for 2020 and I realized that the big goals that I had down all happened because I collaborated with great people. And I've just learned that I have so much more fun collaborating with someone whose skills are different than mine. Yeah. And so I'm just really excited about, I don't know who those people are going to be. I don't know where they're going to come from, but I do know they will come. Yeah. And I do know that it'll be fun and exciting. And so finding people who have skill sets that are different than mine, and we can collaborate together and make something big and both of us win. I'm just super excited about that this year.
Yeah, I love that too. I think that that's awesome. Okay, well, do you want to hit a couple of the things that you had for this year? I'm trying to pick a couple of mine from my long list.
Yeah, I'll hit mine. So, again, last year I did a Mimi and pop-up camp, and I almost didn't do it. Got it done. Super excited about it, and learned so much from doing it. So happy that I pulled the trigger and did it, even though I didn't feel like I was ready to do it or prepared enough, and all the little limiting beliefs that jump in your head when you're about to do something. I just ignored all of them and did it anyway, and I'm super excited. So I've already been making notes, what I want to add to the next Mimi and Pop Camp. So I'm calling it Mimi and Pop Camp 2.0.
Love it.
And so that's top of my list again. And a lot of these are still from last year. I just want to keep doing more, increase my giving to the Salvation Army.
Yep.
And then also I put on here because I felt like in COVID, felt like there was needs, but I wasn't close enough to see them.
Mm.
And so I asked, I just want to keep praying this year that God shows me people's needs.
Yeah.
I feel like I know there's a lot of people hurting. So for example, this year I just gave to food banks and places that I knew had to be helping people who weren't blessed like we are in the essential business world of real estate. And it just is so weird to have your world be so fruitful and so good, and the rest of the world, there's just a lot of pain and hurting. I've been running an ad for an operations manager for myself, and 90% of the people that are answering are in the restaurant and entertainment business. And it's just breaking my heart to realize that that's where the need is. So I've really just been praying, and I want to keep praying that God shows me any other needs. So what I've been doing until then is giving more to the Salvation Army, because I know they help people in need, giving more to a local lady that does this thing called Hearts for Homes, and she helps elderly people, which I always feel like we as Americans do not treat our elderly like the rest of the world does. And so I'll always love what she does. And then also food banks, because that's the only thing I could think of that I could see people getting help from. So I'm just going to keep praying that God shows me those needs, and I can give more in those areas. And then again, I put that the region stretch goal would be grow by 20% and a minimum of 10%. And I think we'll probably wind up this year, I don't have the total numbers right away, but somewhere around 7.5% increase this year. Number 4 is I failed epically on reading the Bible for a second time last year. It just didn't happen. And so I said, okay, what could I do this year? And I made it smaller goal. And so I picked up a devotional called Jesus in Red, I think is what it's called. It's kind of like one of the Jesus Calling books. And then also I put on here to read at least one good Christian book this year. And I think a few years ago I read Walk Through the Door, I think.
What was the one that tugged, though, that you were like, oh man, this is a hard one? Do you remember?
Which one?
You just shared one last year. I feel like you read more than that, because you said this one's it's hard to read. It makes you really think. Oh shoot, I can't remember what it was.
I probably read I probably forget more than I read than most people read.
It was an old one. It was an old one, because I remember thinking, oh, I read that like a long time ago and I wanted to pull it back out. Shoot, I can't remember it. I'll think of it.
Okay, if you think of it, let me know. But anyway, so I also put I want to find a good Christian writer that I enjoy just their book and read it. So you'll probably have some good suggestions on that. You're deep into
Yep.
What's the thing you go to every year?
Catalyst.
Catalyst. Yeah. I put on here, I want to do a girls trip. I want to do something fun with a girls trip. I want to spend quality time with each of my kids doing something cool and fun and unique to them. Number 7, I put use more of KW forms and strategic coach forms for my own accountability and for helping other people achieve what they want to achieve. We have such great tools and we just fall off of them. Kind of like what you had on yours also with Terry.
Yeah.
Reread 3 great books. and I've identified the one thing. I'm always going to read the one thing every year, so it's going to be on there. And then I'll pick out the other two. I put weight on there again. I want to weigh 139. I couldn't sweat that off at the last week of 2020. I got to spend this year getting down. I put have regular Zoom meetings with my finance team. We don't do, Jimmy does that regularly, but I don't.
Yeah.
And so I want to make that more part of what I do also. Number 11, I put find more who's, and then I listed 3 areas that I want to find those who's in. Call with some of our top agents, per month to get to know them better. Look for people that are looking for a leadership. And you and I are doing the Leadership Academy, so this will be a great opportunity to meet those people and try to identify future talent in our world. That's a few of that I have right now. What are some of them you have?
Yep. Okay. Well, gosh, I had a couple that were kind of similar to yours. The biggest thing for me with starting the word habits was I thought, okay, I just got to make January like really stick with it. So I signed up for that manifestation challenge, but then I'm doing Chris Hodges, who is the pastor of Church of the Highlands in Birmingham, Alabama, who spoke on depression, at John Maxwell. So he does a 21-day prayer and fasting every single year with his church that actually started yesterday and goes for 21 days. And this morning was the first morning. And at 6 a.m. Central, you get up and you get on, they do it in person, but they're doing it digital this year. So you get on live, and for 1 hour for the 21 days, you have like a whole prayer thing. Like there was like a 20-page prayer guide booklet. Because one of the things I had was I wanted to be stronger in my prayer life. Because I read a lot of Christian books and I watch church every Sunday and I do all those things. But I feel like I just need to be stronger. This year kind of taught me I need to be stronger relationally. I want it to be like not an afterthought. I want to think to pray before something instead of like, oh, it happened now, help me. Yeah. So I started that this morning and it's really good, but I couldn't give up food for 21 days. I'm not there. Like I'm fully capable of admitting that I'm not there. So we gave up just absolute sugar, like no desserts, no sweets, and no adult beverages for the whole month of January.
Do you have any withdrawals from the sugar yet? Or it's just the first day, right?
Well, no, we started that at the beginning of the month. A little bit, yeah, but that's why like I'm drinking these no sugar, like Zevia or whatever, and like I can't pronounce this one, but if I want to have a sweet piece of sugar or something, like I'm just trying to drink some sort of natural drink or something like that. But
there's supposed to be a tea out there, which I've been looking for a great book on getting rid of sugar out of my life. I think the sugar is the devil in my life.
Yeah.
And there's a tea out there that someone told me about. I'll have to find the name of it. Remind me to find the name of it. I'll give it to you.
Oh yeah, I'd love to know what that is. And actually,
it makes sugar taste kind of bitter.
Well, this morning I was reading a girlfriend of mine who is a doctor posted like the 7 things that the Center for Cancer Health, whatever, just came out with. And like one of the top things is sugar, that they say like basically feeds every sort of cancer. So anyway, so I've started January. Oh, and we're walking a mile every single day for John Maxwell's Change Your World walkathon. So I've like have all these things in January I have to accomplish. But a couple of the things for the year that I had was I want to read 2 books per month, which is why I asked you my question to you earlier, because I'm gonna by the end of this week identify what those are, at least half of them, so that I can make sure that I actually do it. I had a lot of income, I broke down my income goal this year, and for the main purpose of being able to tithe and give more, kind of similar to yours, than what I did last year. So I'm getting very into kind of really just setting a goal between each stream of income, how much needs to come from each one of those in order to fulfill blank. That's something that Terry has worked on with me a lot too. And in order to do that, Adam and I did hire somebody. So monthly we will review everything. And so I'm trying to get to where I use, which you're pretty good at this, but where I just use one credit card or one card. And then that way everything can be tracked much easier at the end of the month. Because right now I don't do that. So I have a lot of goals in regards to finances. I had definitely things with the team. I want to do, last year I did a really great flip that was a really good profit. And so I want to do a minimum of 2 of those this year, which you and I've talked about. So I'm kind of excited about those. I had a goal for this podcast for us to hit 500 reviews on iTunes. I think we are like a little shy of 200 right now. So I really want to get to 500 reviews, and same with mine and Josh's vlog. I want to get us to 10,000 subscribers on that, and 5,000 on my Wednesday morning mindset. I had certain things around that. I had regional increase of, I had 10%. So was glad to hear that you had 10 and 20 as your stretch. I had all my market centers to hit the goals that we have for those. Oh, this was a big one. I can't remember if you said this or not. So every single year at the end of the year for the team and for my market centers and for the region, we do these like retreats for the next year. Well, my big aha from last year was we do the retreat for all of them. I had this aha when I was doing one for the Richmond office, and then we never do anything after that. So my intention for this year, and one of my goals I wrote down, is for every business or every single organization, I want to do at the end of every quarter, like a little mini, even if it's 2 or 3 hours, to touch base back on the original retreat that we had at the beginning of the year or the end of the year before, because I just feel like we aren't going back and touching any of that stuff.
Great idea.
And it's great things. I mean, we spend a whole day coming up with all this great stuff, and some of it we do, and then some of it gets lost in the shuffle. So I just want to revisit that.
So I'm curious, Dana, when you do the retreats, do the stuff from the retreat then go to a 411 or a 135?
They go to a 135, yes. And so like actually just today.
From the 135, doesn't it go to a 411 and you on a regular basis? That's what would happen.
Yeah.
That's the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's thing I said to press this year is we got to go back and start using our 411s because there's no way to know where you are or anything else unless you're checking on a weekly basis of what were the activities to do this week and how did we do? How do we feel about that? What do we need to do now? That kind of stuff.
Yep. I think you're spot on. That's the biggest part that's missing. And so I'm just revisiting and making sure that we fulfill the 135s that we have for everything. Launching the Leadership Academy and pushing through that was a big one for me that I want to really do this year. I wrote down stick to my calendar, and I did a much better job of that last year, but I also think it made it easier because of COVID, because we weren't traveling as much. So it was easier to stick to the calendar. I have grow Heather's role. Definitely. I think that I can make her even stronger with things that she can do to help me even more. And then I have a bunch of.
So what would that look like? Do you mean get her training? What would that look like?
Well, I think so. In the last year, she helped a lot with the market centers, kind of more stuff where I really want her to help. I think that I'll just be transparent. In the market centers, I had her doing a lot of stuff that really some of those staff members should have been doing.
Yeah. And
because they either weren't, or for whatever the reason was, personally, I'm paying Heather to do this stuff. And so I just had, towards the last quarter of last year, I was thinking, okay, this is screwed up. Either I don't have the right people or something's off. And so I feel really good. I've made some new hires. I feel good about where we're at now. So I need to pull Heather back from that stuff, because she shouldn't be doing that stuff, and let her help more with some of the passionate things that I know, like the podcast and like my Wednesday morning mindset group, like things like that I know that she can really help grow more. That would be a better use of her time, where before she was just doing it because, I don't know, somebody else wasn't doing it, pretty much.
Well, what are you on the Colby? What's your quick start?
8.
That's the thing. Because we're a quick start, you're an 8, I'm a 9. We just want it done. And so we just,
that's right.
We try to get it done. I think this is where if we used impact filters on stuff, would be better, because part of it tells who, and it would make you stop and think who really needs to be doing this. Because sometimes when I slow down long enough and think, I think, okay, am I trying to do somebody else's job?
Yep.
When I really put some thought into it instead of just go,
Yep.
I think, okay, I could do this, but should I be the one doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe doing something similar to that on the impact filter would be helpful.
Yeah, I love
Too.
that's my favorite. Probably, I mean, I love a 135, but impact filter is probably my favorite tool of all time.
Yeah,
It's
love
so
it.
good. We'll link that. We need to probably link that again for this year.
Well, we need to send them to strategic coach because these are his tools, and we want to make sure he gets honored and credit, and we're not, whatever. I think he offers it maybe on his own side anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, you can find it on he has free tools on there. Yeah.
Good.
Yep. And then I had a bunch of other little things. Like, actually, this is one thing I'll share. I think the reason why I never hit my health goals are a couple of reasons, but one, I think it's because a lot of people really love to run like you, or they love to work out, and I don't really love to do any of that stuff, to be honest. But what I did find that I love is I've gotten really into hot yoga, and I'm loving it. And I love how I feel afterwards. And I like that I exercise, but I also sweat, but I also kind of get to let my mind go a little bit in there, which is not easy for me to do. So I have a goal of doing it 8 times per month, and I just signed up for unlimited membership. And so I want to stick with that, and I'm into that. And then you really helped me discover that in 2021, I need to find a true nutritionalist. Like, I need to have the whole kit and caboodle done, like the blood work and
functional medicine person. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to ask you what that was. Yeah. So I'm manifesting that I need to find one of those people who lives either in Kentucky, Ohio, or South Carolina, and a good one, so that I can, what'd you say? Functional
medicine doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, because I do believe that people will start to live longer, if that's God's plan. But there's just so much stuff you don't know about your body and your health and all that. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so true. Well, and most of the diseases that we die from, we actually could prevent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not natural for us to die from diabetes and heart attack and all those things. That's not natural. Yep. It's our habits, our health habits along the way.
Yeah. Yep. I had one more thing. Well, I had a bunch of things, but one thing I wanted to share is, Terry, our coach, shared this, and I added it to my vision board, and I wrote it in my goal sheet, because I just feel like this is such a good statement to think about when you're planning your next year. It said, if it doesn't bring you peace, profits, or purpose, then don't give it your time, energy, or attention. And I thought that's so good. And so I'm trying to keep reminding myself of that, because sometimes we do things, but really they don't help us hit our financial goal. It's just kind of a waste. And then sometimes we do things for the money, but really we don't have peace in doing it. And we don't really like to do it. And then sometimes we do all these other things, but they don't really have serve a purpose. So I felt like all 3 of those things together are just such a good memory or thing to memorize and to live out. And then the other thing was, the day you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. And I'm going to keep reminding myself of that over and over this year.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, thank you to you. I added a few more to my list. A couple others that I had is pick one other entrepreneur per month for a call. Like, I get exposed to a lot of great other entrepreneurs through Dan Sullivan. Yep. And when I'm on the call, I've been making notes of who I want to connect with. And so now I just got to get my new person, my operations manager, to just make that happen. Because if they just reach out to my advisor, she'd set up the call with us. That's how I usually get. That's how I got a few people to our guest on our podcast and things like that. So it wouldn't be that hard. It's just, I'm running out of bandwidth to do these things myself. Again, I've got Dan on our podcast, and then also some other great guests. And I really want to go for some really guests that nobody else can get. So that's on my list again this year. I want to write another book. It's probably going to be around the relationship plus validity plus value over time.
Yeah. I actually wrote that. I forgot to tell you that. I actually wrote that on my sheet too, because it made me think about, and I'm not a writer, but how what's his face kind of brought Dan's who not how to life.
Yes.
Your magic formula. Like, I wake up thinking about that like there's a lot to do with that. I feel
So
like
much. So much. I got to get the right who like he did and then turn it over to him. Number 16 is do giving experience with the grandkids. I want to actually physically go do something to me, that's kind of hard to find those opportunities, but I want to figure out how to do that. I want to do an investing online course after we finish the profit share. Continue to run 3 days a week, continue to do weights. Even when I'm out of town, find a trainer in Ohio and in Dayton and find a trainer in San Diego.
Yep.
So that I don't stop when I get in those cities. Start a health podcast. And I put on here, my first action step was find a co-host. And I think I found that person. I'm not going to say their name until we get commitments. We're about to do a Zoom call and I'm super excited about her. She's going to say yes. And you know what's interesting about that, to talk about your prayer more prayerfully, I have started to pray for God to give me those people. And it's so amazing, Dana. I will be sitting somewhere and the person's name will just come down to me.
Yep, you do that all the time.
Oh my God. But it's come to me more than I've started praying for God to find me the people that I need to accomplish these things. If it's your will, help me find the people.
Yep.
And this girl's name just kind of came through to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, she would be perfect. And I've thought of all the reasons why she'd be perfect. So anyway, so hopefully she thinks she's perfect, but so far she's agreed to have a Zoom call and entertain it. I want to start a fasting coaching program somewhere. Maybe it's 2021, maybe it's not, but it's on my list.
Love it.
I want to do that 21-day manifestation. I love that. So I put that on my list.
I'm going to send you the link right now.
Okay, send me the link. And then also, I have a Fit Bomb, which is a hot room in my house.
Yeah, love that.
I had put on my list already, but I reiterated, I want to make sure. I want to find a hot yoga trainer to come to my house.
Oh,
my massage person now comes to my house. My trainer comes to my house. I want the hot yoga person to come to my house.
I love that. There's so many great benefits to the hot yoga. Like actually the first time I ever did it was with you when Mary drove us there and I almost died.
Yeah.
Which I think that room was maybe a little hotter than the room that I go to, but still it really, you feel so good. I don't know if it's like you sweat out the toxins or what, but yeah, it's really good. One thing that you made me think about too, about your Bible thing, reading the whole way through is, and I've been sharing this a ton, but I've been using that YouVersion Bible app and now it finally is a habit. And every single morning when I wake up, and today is my streak, 125 days. I've not missed one day in 125 days. So it's the YouVersion Bible app. It's just the Bible app that a lot of people use to read the Bible on. But at the top, that it has a story. You can click open story and it keeps your streak. And so every morning I just open that story and it says, it has the verse of the day. You watch a 2-minute little devotional. You read like 3 paragraphs of a part of the Bible that day. And then it gives you a prayer and then a little image that you can post or share, whatever, of the verse of the day. And it takes me, I do a lot more around my devotion time, but that is the first thing I do every morning. It takes me maybe 5 minutes. But I love that it tracks your streak, because not that you should competitively read the Bible, but you also get in such a good habit that, now I don't want to break it for anything, because my streak has gone so long and I'm so determined to get to 365 days, like come hell or high water. So, but it has made me read the Bible so much more.
I love it. And there's so many things in there, it's something about that competition, and we don't want to break a streak that really helps. It helps to keep the commitment. So I love that.
So smart of them to do. And now they have in there where you can do all these plans. So like even one of the people from Exchange, John Maxwell, invited me to do the Proverbs 30-day challenge. So you read 1 Proverbs a day, but you can see in here like who all's read theirs that day, and then they can make a comment. And so you're like holding, so there's 70 something people in this group that are holding each other accountable to just read one chapter in Proverbs every single day for the month of January. And if you miss one, no big deal, but I'm not opposed to having a little accountability around spiritual things either. So I just think it's good. I've really enjoyed it.
I love it. And so any final thoughts you'd want to give anybody about 2021 and setting their goals? And then hopefully our goals have helped inspire you guys on what your goals are for 2021. If you hadn't written them already, maybe we gave you a few ideas that you want to add to yours. We'd love to hear what is some of the best goals that you have for 2021, and you might inspire us to add some of your goals to our list also. I love listening to other people's goals.
I do too.
So any final thoughts, Dana, you want to add as we close?
I would just say if you haven't sat down and taken the time to do this, then really do it. I mean, even if you have to just block out a half a day or go somewhere quiet or do whatever, you just feel so much better. And like we had in our last episode, even if you don't achieve everything that you write down, who cares? I don't remember what that statistic is, but half of them are wrong anyway, right? I think they say, but just writing it down and putting it out there and then sharing it with somebody else, like us sharing them on the podcast makes me feel like I want to go do it even more because we've said it out loud.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but one of the things I used to love to do is I'd go to like a really nice hotel like Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton and just sit in their lobby and write my goals. There was something about, where do you get inspired? For me, it's the ocean.
Same.
Or it's a nice resort or a nice hotel. So, go there, even if you just go there and have lunch and goal writing session. But goals are, to me, super important. Again, it's not about beating yourself up if you don't get them accomplished, but it's about putting it out there. And again, what I learned from last year's goal is it's in my 30-day planner, and I look at that every day. So I should start looking at least once a week at my goals. I think I would accomplish a whole lot more of them than I did in 2020, even though I got a lot of them accomplished in 2020. So remember, if you have a challenge, an opportunity, or a question that you'd like for Dana and I to answer on the podcast, just reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure and hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you come along on this journey with us. And also, we'd love to have a review because Dana has a goal of 500 reviews. So help us out on that. And remember, if you've got someone in the business world or real estate world that you think would benefit from our episodes, be sure and pass our podcast along. We'd love to have you share it with someone. So again, thanks for coming along on this journey with us. And Dana, I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. See you later.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.